Though I apologize for the delay, I'm happy to announce the complete review of our newest board here at Verdant Ride, the 4'2" Pro Lift Generation 3 board. This board is wicked fast. It banks like a mother. It has smaller rear and front foils, but more importantly, and I'm pretty convinced this is the bigger deal, it's got the 32-inch mast. Those extra few inches make a massive difference in the ride. The last board really requires you to have Zen-like concentration to keep the board from flying out of the water, dipping into the water, fly out and crashes. Now you can take these really sharp bank turns and never even touch the edge. So I spend a lot more of my time just enjoying the ride instead of making sure I'm at the perfect altitude, not too high and not too low. This extra room in the mast has really dramatically shifted how I eFoil. Regardless of which size board you buy, because the price is identical, just get the taller mast. This taller mast is so much better that I crash less, I have more fun riding, and the kinds of things I can do with this board is really more my type of surfing. While the board length itself might be more of a personal preference type of decision to make, maybe it's important for you to get a larger board because they are easier to start surfing with. They're easier to get up on. I do think that whatever downside there is to having a taller mast will be quickly mitigated by the fact that you and all the people who ride your board are going to have fewer crashes once they get up and started. I don't believe I'll be able to fully explain how much of a joy it is to be able to take up off the water, start flying, and then have that extra distance to adjust your altitude and to angle into a turn without actually crashing into the water or flying out. You really just have to try it for yourself. What I am saying is that it's such a dramatic improvement to the ride of eFoiling that I really think they should stop selling the shorter mast, because going backwards, I actually do not enjoy riding my shorter mast anymore. That is how much more fun eFoiling got for me. And even though I had a great summer last summer riding my old eFoil twice, 3 times a day, I gotta say the improvement of having more flight and more distance to adjust your flight up and down, it better approximates the feeling of actually surfing by me allowing my eFoil board to climb high and then steer it downwards and then swoop it out of a downward glide. There are times where I really do get the sensation of feeling a wave coming in behind me and starting to lift the tail of my board out and then riding that downward. It really is bliss. So of course, not everything about this new board is all it's cracked up to be or lives up to its advertising. And let's start with this. It's super crazy loud, like way louder than my old board. let's not just take my word for it here. Let's run some audio tests and let's find out. I decided to take my phone, put it into an audio recording mode, and just slap it into the boards. So I tucked it right on top of where you connect the mast to both boards.
All right, we're recording.
And here I am, super excited to ride my old board. You can tell by the look on my face. And I took them both out for a ride while I was recording the audio. And I'll let the waveforms tell the story. And here's the results. On average, the new board, the Pro, was only between 10 and 8 decibels higher than the old board. But at its peak, when it was really grinding, it was 18 decibels louder than the old board. And that's a big deal. And it's not just about the sound. I will also say when I'm just starting out on a ride and getting up, it feels like there's 2 Hitachi Magic Wands duct taped to the bottoms of my feet. It seems like it's the kind of noise generated by lesser boards. Like Waydo is notorious for putting out a generation of boards that were really, really loud. And I feel like that's what I got. So I'm not sure if there's something wrong with my board or my motor, or if that's just part of the smaller board and taller mast situation I got going on. But I was told that they got even quieter in Generation 3, and that is super not the case, at least with the board that I got. Getting up is harder on the smaller board. Now, it's not impossible, and people could learn how to do it, but so far, only me and my 100-pound daughter have actually been able to successfully ride this new board. At least at the time of shooting this footage, that was the case. Since then, one other friend has been able to ride this board, and he spent a day crashing and finally figured it out. It's about speed. You need to go very, very, very fast before you can even attempt standing up, or you're just pushing water, or you bury the nose. And you also need to keep your weight extremely far forward, like uncomfortably far forward. So for a lot of riders, like especially new riders, they're gonna struggle with this board. If you take a look at the position I'm in, my shoulders are actually in front of the board, hanging out over the front edge, that can be pretty intimidating for new riders. So I get a lot more splash with this board when I'm getting up, and if I put my foot down and bury the nose right away, well, it's worth it once you get riding to be on the smaller board and have a lighter ride, but it's definitely quirky and it takes some getting used to. I have never been able to dock start with this board. With my 5-foot sport board, the white one, I can just step right onto it off the dock and hit the throttle, and I'm up and rolling. You're not going to be able to caper call with this board. I know that this is pretty popular with my last board. You could give it a little thrust and get it to spin around and come back and get you. I gotta warn everyone, if you're a fan of that self-returning caper call, you're not going to be able to do it. This board is just not going, it's just going to keep moving further away from you every time you give it a throttle thrust. Expect battery issues. Last season, I did have my battery on my first board go bad. And Lift was great. They replaced it right away with a new battery that worked. But with my new board, it's only charging to 90% and then it stops. So I've likely either got another bad battery, or I've got a bad charger, or I've got a bad cable, or something is wrong. And so I'm going to have to go through the whole process of their tech support and get that replaced. This is unfortunate because I've had two boards, two batteries not performing as they should be. So it does call into question their manufacturing process, maybe their quality control. Two boards, two bad batteries, that's too much. Another thing is their batteries are supposed to be able to provide 100 minutes of ride time with their full size battery. And I have never gotten anywhere near that. Even with the second battery they sent me that appears to be working and charges to 100%. On my old board, I could maybe ride for 45 minutes on that battery. And on my new board, I don't think I've ever seen a single ride go over 30 minutes. The longest my Apple Watch has said you've been working out surfing has been 33 minutes. So I looked at my log and that's just very short compared to what they're advertising. They've begun producing what they call a light battery, which is a little over 7 pounds lighter than their full range battery. And it's advertised to last for 60 minutes. Now, if it performs as poorly as their full range battery, then I'm going to buy that for what, $3,000, and I'm going to ride for what, 10, 15 minutes? That's not okay. So, so they're advertising these batteries lasting much longer than they actually do. And yes, they say that depends on rider weight. And that depends on how you ride it, that kind of thing. And I ride the board pretty hard, pretty fast, right? Especially that new Pro board. I'm constantly pulling off deep bank carves. I'm always altering the throttle to maximize my G-forces and turns. And sure, I'm 190 pounds. But I would love it if they would just advertise that battery more realistically and say, hey, if you're 100 pounds, you'll make that battery last for 100 minutes, right? So maybe my daughter could make it last for closer to 100 minutes. And if you're 190 pounds, it's going to last 30 minutes. If that was the case, hey, then at least I bought it knowing what I was going to get. I'd feel fine about it. And if I didn't like that, I would start breathing some helium and go on a diet. But it seems to me like they're stretching the truth a bit in their advertising. And it also seems to me that they need to solve their battery inconsistency. I can't keep buying a board from them and then having the battery not work the way it should. It feels risky. We know what can happen to a LiPo battery like that when they go critical. It's bad. I bought Lift because I believe they stand behind their product and they have a great design. And I wouldn't take a chance on an off-brand. They're my company, they're my horse. Obviously, I've invested a lot of money into their products and I enjoy them. I would like more from Lift. I want to buy a product and at least have my first year with it minimum be problem-free more often than I've had. 2 boards, 2 bad batteries, plus the sound that my board's making, which is not what's advertised. It does call into question their quality control and maybe their manufacturing consistency. So great design. I'm starting to doubt whether or not they can pull off consistent quality.